Good night indeed. Hello, everybody. Good to have you here. Doing our thing, as we usually do, every night at 7 o'clock, but not quite. 6:56 to be exact on the East Coast, the only time zone. Everybody else is just trying to keep up. I hope against hope that you are you're having a good day. It was a nice summer day today. Good and hot. Hovering around 90 degrees, but the humidity was low, so it was nice. I was able to get outside a couple of times after I finished working on the show, and then Aurora woke up from her nap that she never fell asleep for, and then brought her outside, worked out a little bit, got nice and sweaty, and then had to go outside again with Aurora, and we got to do some other things. So, but she got to spend her morning at the beach. Lucky devil. And I think we have a really good show here tonight on this Tuesday, the 11th of July. And what do we have? Well, it's going to be you and I tonight, so I think that we're going to be able to do some good calls. I'm going to open up the lines. We're going to be talking about a number of things. I have a grab bag, the regular old grab bag that's lined up. There's some stuff there. You can always call in on stuff that makes you wonder on that end. And then what else we have? And then I also have some other things. That's right. There's one thing over here about the sea. A dip in the ocean this summer, no thanks. Talking about all the horrors at sea this year. I want to know if you have any creepy or strange or overwhelming ocean stories. I don't know. I think that just being out on a boat at night in the middle of the ocean, far away from shore, where you look over the edge and you just see blackness. There's just nothing there. You can't even make out water on a moonless night. That's the kind of stuff that gets me just in itself. So if you have any unsettling ocean stories, I want to hear about it tonight. There's also this story from a couple of, maybe about a week or so ago that I thought it was just fascinating, and it's going to bring up a question. Bring up a question about the best investments you ever made. Something you bought that you took advantage of, and it really paid dividends, and you were able to you just overused it, and you never regretted getting it or something, whatever. It'll make perfect sense when we get there. So we're going to talk about best investments ever made in your life. Any and all strange, weird, horrifying ocean stories. And then I have a lot of correspondence in the mailbag that I'm going to be pulling out in the second half. Just people who have written into the show about different topics that we've discussed in the last week or two. And there's a nice mix there. I'm sure that a lot of it will bring up memories, and it will also bring up thoughts, and that's what it's all about, I guess. All right, so what else do we have? Anything before I get into this grab bag? No, I think that's it. Tomorrow, I can't wait to I think most of the show is already written tomorrow with Grace, with Really Graceful. So much. You know, she does that series, that ongoing series, Something Strange is Happening in the United States, and it's just pretty much a conga line of news and strange occurrences and all that. Well, we're just going to be doing that in a live setting tomorrow, which I can't wait, because she's a really great news curator, and you just know her perspective on things, and she always asks the most poignant questions to be asked. So hopefully we'll be able to get the audience involved with that. And then on Thursday, Michael Collins of Wandering Wolf Productions will be talking about his ventures into the woods and all around the country, and trying to piece together the puzzles of the past. Megalithic structures, ancient relics of long erased civilizations and nations. So that'll be nice. and that'll be the last show of the week because Friday I'm off, and then we kick off next week with Jay Gulanello, which is going to be, I have too many topics. I'm going to have to prioritize these topics with Jay because it's been, I don't know, it feels like 2 months since he's been on. So, I don't know. Oh, I don't know. That's from old 3D Movie Maker from Windows 95. You guys remember that? Does anybody ever play around with 3D Movie Maker from Windows 95? Oh, that talk about relics. That's a relic in itself. Oh, what I would do to have any of those movies that my brother made with 3D Movie Maker. All right, let's go. Thank you so much again to my sponsors. All of them on quitefrankly.tv, but chief among them, BlueMonsterPrep.com. Go and get right with your cupboards. Get right with those empty nooks in your basement. They need supplies there. Very understated and unannounced, and don't tell anybody that you're stacking or anything like that. Just make sure that you do what you can. So BlueMonsterPrep.com, go and check out the wonderful catalog of stuff that they have there on the website and use promo code Frankly. All right, now we're going to jump into our grab bag. Here we go. First one up is from Zero Hedge. You might have heard about this. Larry Nasser. The last call that we had with Frank and Jim Zell was about Larry Nasser. Truly incredible update back, I think is the last day of May, if not the first day of June. Former gymnastics doctor for the U.S. Olympics, Larry Nasser, has been stabbed multiple times during an altercation with another inmate in a federal prison in Florida. According to the Associated Press, the attack happened on Sunday at United States Penitentiary Coleman in Florida. Nasser was in stable condition Monday, according to two people familiar with the matter. Joe Rojas, a prison union leader, told NBC News that Nasser was stabbed twice in both the neck and the back, and another 6 times in the chest. It probably wasn't a very big blade. Nasser is serving decades in prison for convictions in state and federal court. He admitted sexually assaulting athletes when he worked at Michigan State University and USA Gymnastics, which trains Olympians. Separately, Nasser pleaded guilty to possessing child pornography. During victim impact statements in 2018, several athletes testified that over the course of Nasser's more than 2 decades of sexual abuse, they had told adults what was happening, including coaches and athletic trainers, but it went unreported. Over 100 women, including Olympic gold medalist Simone Biles, sued the federal government for more than $1 billion over the FBI's failure to stop Nasser when the agency became aware of the allegations against him in 2015. He was arrested over a year later by Michigan State University police. That FBI, man. Always there to serve and protect. Serve and protect and do nothing with valuable information, actionable intelligence. So, this is just a couple of weeks after we learn that this in itself is news, but it's only a couple of weeks after we learn that Larry Nasser was one of the last people that Jeffrey Epstein wrote to in a time of desperation. In the final days of his life, in a time of desperation, he was not resigned to killing himself. He was trying desperately to get out, pleading with the court system, offering up huge sums of money. He was not suicidal. And one of the last people he wanted to reach out to was Larry Nasser. So that's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible. You can draw whatever conclusions or ask whatever questions you'd like to ask. There's plenty to be asked. And now he's stabbed. Which, to be honest, who cares? And it is also very consistent with how prison justice is doled out. But the timing is pretty incredible. Though, what was being done about it? Was anybody really prying into? Maybe somebody was prying into this connection between Nasser and Epstein to try to talk to Nasser as to why was Epstein coming? Especially a guy in his position. Perhaps he would like to, if anybody was really wanting to get to the bottom of some things here. What can you barter with Nasser for? A safer cell? Something like that? Anyway, The timing is suspect. That made everybody, their brows quirk because of how recent the news was about this really incredible connection. But other than that, it is good just to remember that this is just consistent with how the public has learned prison justice is doled out, especially for people who are doing time for the things that Larry Nasser was doing. So, all things to consider. Here's another one for you, July 10th, 2023. From WGN9, Chicago. Main suspect in 1982 Tylenol murders found dead. The sole suspect in the 1982 Tylenol murders was found dead on Sunday, according to the Chicago Tribune. Tribune investigative reporters Christy Gutowski and Stacy St. Clair, who conducted a long investigation into the mystery, reported that sources told them prime suspect James Lewis died at his suburban Boston home at the age of 76. In September 1982, fear gripped the Chicago area that the country after 7 suburban residents died due to taking Tylenol that was laced with lethal doses of potassium cyanide. Copycat killings followed later in the United States. Lewis was a tax consultant who sent a letter to Johnson & Johnson and said that he would stop the killings if the company paid him $1 million. He was convicted of extortion and spent 12 years in prison, but investigators never found hard evidence to tie him to the poisonings. He sent a letter to Johnson & Johnson and said he would stop the killings if the company paid him $1 million, but the investigation never found hard evidence to tie him to the poisonings. I wish I could have somebody explain that one to me. The FBI, here's a quote, "The FBI went through some of his stuff and found the handbook of poisons," St. Clair told WGN News last September. And in the years since, they have fingerprinted that book, and on page 196, the page that included information on how much cyanide is needed for a fatal dose in an average human being, they found Jim Lewis's fingerprint. Now, is that still circumstantial? Pretty unique circumstances. At around the same time Gutowski and St. Clair spoke with the WGN News last fall, they said the FBI just returned back from interviewing Lewis near Cambridge, Massachusetts. The former federal prosecutor who put Lewis behind bars for the extortion told the Tribune that he was regretful Lewis was never held accountable for the killings. Quote, "I was saddened to learn of James Lewis's death," Jeremy Margolis told the Tribune, "not because he's dead, but because he didn't die in prison." The victims were Mary McFarland, Mary Kellerman, Paula Prince, Mary Lynn Reiner, and the Janis family, Stanley, Adam, and Terry. Well, if there's one more Mary in there, I would say that it's, I don't know, all those Marys. My screens are still blinking. Anyway. Chicago Tribune investigation stated that investigators believe Lewis tampered with Tylenol for revenge. In 1974, his 5-year-old daughter died after sutures used to fix her heart defect tore. The outlet reported they were made by a subsidiary of Johnson & Johnson, which also makes Tylenol. Lewis denied being the killer repeatedly. So if you have anything on that, let me know. That's an interesting one. I should... set this aside. We have some really interesting true crime guests that are coming on soon outside of the Zells. Here's one again from the NATO front. Zelensky slams Biden's unprecedented and absurd stance on NATO membership. What is that stance? Ukrainian President Zelensky tore into NATO leaders, including President Biden, on Tuesday for not extending membership to his war-torn country. Introducing fresh diplomatic... He must be on drugs. I mean, how many drugs is the real question. How many types of drugs is he on? That he's upset that they are not declaring... That the world is not declaring war on Russia. Because that is what NATO admittance is over here. Now, it's sick enough to hear them say that Ukraine will be fast-tracked into NATO once the war is over, as if there's going to be anything left of NATO as it is right now, with its ties right now, without it at least being neutral or, I guess, subdivided and given to other Eastern European countries. I don't know what the hell's going on. But even the assumption that they're going to get out of this without some major catastrophe that is just foisted upon the world is just incredible that they're still doing this. Zelensky slammed the reticence as weakness and absurd just moments after Biden referred to the development of a new language regarding his country's potential NATO ascension. Quote, now on the way to Vilnius, we receive signals that certain wording is being discussed without Ukraine, and I would like to emphasize that this wording is about the invitation to become NATO member, not about Ukraine's membership. It's unprecedented and absurd when a time frame is not set neither for the invitation nor Ukraine's membership, while at the same time vague wording about conditions is added even for inviting Ukraine. He's nuts. This guy's nuts. It's the drugs talking. I don't know what I mean, he's obviously in crisis. And there you have it. So over here stateside, this is the last thing I'll throw out there before we kick off the show and jump out of the pre-show. Here is a State Department spokesperson who is saying the right things, but the press corps is actually coaching him back into what is supposed to be said about Ukraine. Take a listen to this. I think it's really incredible. It's 27 seconds long, and it is the closest you're going to get to truth coming out of the White House.
A few things. So I will say, with respect to your first question, we believe the war has been a strategic failure for Ukraine. The Secretary spoke to this in a speech he gave in Helsinki last month, I believe it was. What's that? I'm sorry. Excuse me.
So they say, no, you mean a strategic failure for Russia, right? Right. Oh, I'm sorry. And what does he do? He goes to correct himself, and he says the same thing over again, which happens to be the truth.
Excuse me. A strategic failure for Ukraine. Thank you for the correction. Which is, I need more than one correction today. A strategic. This is the first time at the podium for a week. I'm apparently a little rusty.
Yeah, I'm a little rusty. You know, when I step away from the podium, I'm actually able to speak truth to people away from the I keep forgetting that we are supposed to do the inverse of everything while we're here talking to the press. My bad. Forgot that this is the inverse room. So look at that. That is just in 27 seconds, 2 corrections. The same correction. He could, hey, you know, I just think that's funny that you have this guy that is representing the intelligence on the matter, and the press is there to ask questions and perhaps, I don't know, try to get a better understanding of things, and they're there to remind him, no, this has been a strategic failure for Russia, which is obviously not the case. Now, if you're talking about strategy failures for Russia, you might say that they went too easy, but you can tell that they've wanted to not kill as many people as could have been killed, collateral damage wise, because you need to have something left over, and it's mostly Russians in those eastern provinces. So it's just incredible to watch these people work. And the thing that this guy makes 6 figures. Whoever this weenie is makes 6 figures because of us. We bust our ass. They steal from us. They pay it to this weenie. And they have this is their play. This is their summer play that they're putting on. Getting ready for the fall production, I'm sure. So it's sickening, but little things like this is chuckle worthy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back. We're going to get this one kicked off. We're going to start talking about the ocean first, and then we'll move on to other things. Set the table for you and all of your calls. And remember the number is 914-200-0269. And also on the Gilded tonight, I'm already in there working the on-air call section in the Quite lobby. You'll see it in the Gilded chat. We have the general waiting room. That's where you just sit in there. You want to just comment on whatever. We have the first-time callers line and the international calls line. Those are always there. And tonight, 2 specialty lines, Ocean Stories and Best Investments. You'll be able to use those, and as you have heard in the last week or so of starting to integrate the Gilded calls like we used to do with the old Discord, the sound quality is incredible. So I would really suggest you go on over there, and it's a great way to skip the line on the phone calls, the 914 number from time to time. You know, there's a bottleneck that goes on over here, and it's very, very, very exclusive company on the Gilded right now. So take advantage of it being a very fresh thing. We will be right back. Don't go anywhere.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
You know, let me ask you something. In the summertime, in the summer in the city, when it is getting just gritty and dirty and sticky outside, and I mean, I wash my face, I don't know how many times a day during the summertime, especially during that time of the day where you're just going at it, and you're doing your work, and you're going outside, and some of you work outside. So you know that point in a really muggy summer day where it feels like someone just took a big palmful of Crisco and went and just smeared it all over your face, and you just feel like crap. Well, I got to ask you, once that Crisco feeling sets in, you're like, I got to go throw some water on my face. Do you include the creases of your arms? Because I do. It's the face. It's the face. It's right over the dome. It's back behind the head, behind the ears, behind the neck. A full refreshing, and it feels amazing. But then I also go up the arms into the creases of the arms. Do you get that into the arm crease? Because the stickiness there, I hate that too. Whenever I do a freshen up, I always include the arms. So I want to know. That's a very important question. Do you do that this time of year? Please tell me. Please. All right. Absolutely, some people say. Absolutely. Lancelot said that. I'm looking at some people in the general chat right now. Yes. So that's good. Bird bath. People are saying Mark Swan doesn't do anything. Oh, Mark Swan says, don't forget to wipe the balls, Frank. You can't. That's a lot harder to do. Just flop them over the sink. That's a lot harder to do just like multiple times a day. You can't. You have to pick and choose your times for that. Oh, and there he is. Moon Bunny says the loins. Don't forget the loins. Yeah. It's very... Ricky Lynn says, and under the boobs. Between the boobs, says Schmoopaloo. Okay. There you go. F and Frank says, and don't forget the ball. Okay, so there okay. That's that. Whore's bath. So I said, well, it's not, I guess. I can tell you other things that it's called. But I'm not going to get too offensive right now. Because it's still early in the show, and I don't want to scare anybody away if they're trying to give me a chance here for the first time, for the last time. All right, so here's what I have. I want to put this out there with you. First one up is a story from the ocean. Now, we had the Titanic thing, which I got to say, somebody finally said what I thought might have happened. I'll start with this one first. This is from the New York Post. The Titan sub, the victims likely realized their fate between 48 and 71 seconds before the deaths. And that is what I was telling people too. Mostly off air and shit when we were talking about this. Because, everybody was really resting on that. Oh, well, at least it was instantaneous. I said, yeah, it was instantaneous when it happened, but you don't think that there was not something going wrong? Imagine that. If you're just in a free fall and you know that something's happening, or you hear just a little bit of something giving way, a crack, something, where the integrity of this thing has broken. There's probably a lot more hell there. Now, the worst scenario would have been actually laying on the bottom of the ocean until air ran out, because you're talking about all types of grossness, from people going to the bathroom, there being no place to go to the bathroom, the being pitch black, all that stuff. The blaming each other, the crime. I mean, it's horrible. I'm telling you, I get more uneasy about ocean adventures than space adventures. 100%. 5 people who perished aboard the OceanGate submersible were likely aware of the impending implosion between 48 and 71 seconds before it occurred, according to an expert who likened the scenario to a horror movie. Spanish engineer and underwater expert Jose Luis Martin offered a timeline for the doomed Titan's final moments before it was destroyed on June 18th, less than 2 hours into its dive to the Titanic shipwreck. During the controlled immersion of the Titan, there must have been an electrical fault, which left the craft without thrust. Without thrust, the weight of the passengers and the pilot, about 400 kilograms, which was focused on the front end, close to the viewport, would have disrupted the Titan's longitudinal stability. So it would have started dropping porthole end down. Everybody standing, oh man. He said he believes the deadly malfunction occurred at a depth of around 5,500 feet. At this point, the submersible begins to fall headlong toward the seafloor, and with control and safety functions damaged, it can no longer be maneuvered. So you can only imagine. Everyone rushes and crowds on top of each other. The fear, the agony. It must have been like a horror movie. And it could have happened anywhere between 48 to 71 seconds of free fall before the whole thing happened. So I'm glad someone said it, because, yeah, the actual thing might have been quick, but everything else, jeez, it's just better we don't know. Here's another thing that's happening, though. Yahoo put this one out. A dip in the ocean this summer? Will you be doing it? No thanks, says this author, Maura Judkis. She says, try not to think about the ocean, because if you're the type of person prone to listless anxiety, a simple question, what's a submersible? Where do orcas live? It might take you to a deep, dark place. A place like the Hadal Zone, named for the Greek god of hell. The Hadal? I don't know what the Hadal. Oh, Hades. I guess Hadal. Hadal Zone, named for the Greek god of hell, where there is absolutely no light and only creatures that can survive the crushing pressure are characterized by their transparent, gooey skin. Or maybe a place off the Gulf of Mexico called the Hot Tub of Despair, an underwater lake full of methane that kills any organism that enters it. Or perhaps a remote part of the Pacific Ocean that has earned the nickname White Shark Cafe. We are having a Jaws girl summer. It's giving Moby Dick energy. We are in our ancient mariner era. It is the era the ocean is more terrifying than usual this year. Or are we suddenly just more aware of how terrifying the ocean can be? No, I've always been very fascinated and terrified by the ocean. Although I'd rather be out on the ocean than in the jungle at night, I think. I've had this conversation with friends before. And it led me to think that I would probably definitely go and be in the jungle than in the ocean. And then I realized, no, I think I'd be in the ocean. Both terrifying prospects, but if I was on the surface of the water, that's better. I don't want to be underneath it. On the surface, fine. But the jungle is just too much. The depths the real deep parts of the jungle where every insect can probably kill you, make your legs swell up to the trunk of a redwood. But still, here is an illustrative roundup of recent horrors. Orcas have trained one another to attack boats off the coast of Spain and Portugal. We covered that. Over the 4th of July holiday, 4 people were bitten by sharks on New York beaches, and approximately 200 people needed to be rescued from rip currents in Virginia and North Carolina. A man on a fishing trip to Freeport, Texas beach last month arrived to discover that tens of thousands of dead fish had washed ashore. Homes in the Outer Banks are toppling into waves. Don't forget the beach, where severed human feet wash ashore on a regular basis in northwest Washington County that recently announced it was crowdfunding an investigation to identify a recent set of remains. What? Severed human feet? Is it more than one pair? Or 2 feet, but they just come from different bodies? So you know. Oh, man, I didn't know about that one. Or the awful video of the teen who jumped off the party boat in the Bahamas in May only to be swallowed up by the inky black water and never seen again. I did see that. I saw that. Or the fact that Japan is planning to release more than 1 million cubic meters of treated radioactive water, approximately 500 Olympic-sized swimming pools, an amount that is considered safe, from the 2011 Fukushima nuclear disaster into the Pacific this summer. Then there was the Ocean Gate catastrophe, which made millions of people ponder the specifics of an excruciating death, trapped at the bottom of the ocean in a claustrophobic metal coffin-like tube in a dark blacker than any night, with 96 hours of oxygen left to contemplate the unlikelihood of rescue and your imminent suffocation. What actually happened was no less horrific, but somehow seemed kinder, being crushed to death in milliseconds by as much as 6,000 pounds of pressure per square inch. In the ocean, that's a good way to go. That's what Alexandria Neonakis realized during the days she spent transfixed by the submersible crisis. At every step, every fact that you learned about it, the video game controllers, the strange knocking noises, the fact that it was bottled shut from the outside, was so much worse and kept getting worse. Social media just enabled that to go even crazier. Oh, let me just tell you right now, it wasn't, there's nothing about this submersible anywhere anymore popping up in my suggested, but 99% of my YouTube is all Titanic videos. I didn't know that YouTube was 67% Titanic videos. I just didn't know it. Behind the scenes of the movie, all of Robert Ballard's earlier footage, the breaking news, all of James Cameron's dives and shit like that. Deleted scenes upon deleted scenes I've never seen. Of course, the shorts and the theories about the Olympic and Titanic switches and everything that has to do with covering lost vessels and stuff. It's if you ever needed to know why, if you ever wanted to understand why so-called artificial intelligence is being able to learn about the way that we think and the way that we fixate on things, how one thing leads to the other, you have to just check out these algorithms and how it learns from the way that one thing leads to another with us. It's incredible. But that's the other thing too. Usually at the end of any evening, let's say I go to bed on average around 12:30. On a bad night, 1 o'clock. It used to be 2:30, 3 o'clock. I was up working, and that was before Aurora was born, and I knew those nights were over. And thank God for it, because it didn't do anything well for me, because I was still waking up early too, so that wasn't going to work out. But anyway, at the end of the night, when I've finished working, I've read a little bit, I've taken a shower, and I'm just laying around, I've got a couple more minutes left in my eyes, I'll go on Instagram or I'll go on YouTube, and I'll just let the reels and let the shorts go. And there are nights, I would say, I don't know, maybe 7 nights out of 10, that they put me into hysterics with the wheeze laughing. They are hilarious. And it's just the kind of thing I like going to bed, something nice and light and fluffy. And then there are other nights where I say, all right, that's it for tonight. The reels, they get terrible sometimes. Last night, I actually saw a shark attack. Horrible. It was a horrible thing. Somebody was caught out there maybe about 50 to 60 yards out from the shoreline, screaming for their father, and you just see him get wrestled under the water, and that was it. Horrible. And there's other things there. I mean, the shark attack, the unrepentant murderers being sentenced in court. Horrible shit. The strange door cam footage, forget about it. So once I started seeing that, I said, all right, well, I guess the roulette tonight is not going to be a happy one. But you know, I think that a lot of the shark attack stuff and a lot of the ocean stuff is related to the things that's been happening in the water, out on the water. So I want to ask you guys and gals, do you have any creepy ocean stories? Anything weird, horrific? It could also just be you're awestruck by something. You were, I don't know, whatever, something. Did you come in contact with a humpback whale where it got so close and you realized how much bigger it was than you that you were just terrified, even though you were also just... I want to know more about that. So you let me know. I have a specialty line that's up on the Gilded, like I said. That is Ocean Stories. I would love to hear from you there. And also on, quite frankly, Open Up line. That's 914-200-0269. Just come on through. That'll be a little bit of a wild card over there. And we'll take whatever we get. And then we have this. Here's a headline from June. In 1990, Tom Stucker bought a lifetime pass from United Airlines for $290,000. He has since flown 23 million miles and calls the purchase the best investment of his life. Now, you say, whoa, back in 1990, if you had $290,000 to spend and you saw that United Airlines was making this available for you to get in there for a lifetime pass, they'll never ask you for another dime again. Obviously, if you're buying food or if you're checking luggage, I'm sure you have to do that. But as far as your miles go, he has since flown 23 million miles and calls the purchase the best investment of his life. He isn't your typical frequent flyer. While many travelers speak fondly of stays at luxury resorts and the first-class seats they booked using airline miles, Stucker is in a class of his own. He's a car dealership consultant from New Jersey who has flown 23 million miles, which Rick Riley said in Washington Post column that was more than any other person in history. In 1990, United Airlines advertised a lifetime pass for $290,000, and Stucker quickly snagged the offer. Now, 33 years later, Stucker frequently enjoys his favorite perch in seat 1B. He told the Post that he spends 12 consecutive days without touching a bed after he spent 12 consecutive days without touching a bed after he flew from Newark, New Jersey to San Francisco and then to Bangkok and Dubai. He only spent time outside of the friendly skies while visiting the airport lounges. So he was just literally hopping from airports to airports, having drinks in different countries. I mean, why not, right? That sounds like some great stories. Stucker, now 69 years old, told the Post that his frequent travels were driven by the accumulation of airline miles. Best investment of my life, he said. Stucker said that he knew early on that frequent flyer miles weren't just a way to get more flights. He also he ended up selling and trading miles with others. He told the Post that he once used miles to obtain so many gift cards that he was able to renovate his brother's home. United no longer extends such passes to its flyers, according to the Post. He even won an auction years ago, bidding 451,000 miles to be a guest on an episode of NBC's Seinfeld. Stucker told the New York Post, or the Washington Post, that he had been to 100 countries and had more than 120 honeymoons with his wife. And United, that's great. And United has embraced Stucker, asking for his input in crafting the menu at their Polaris clubs and keeping a Mercedes ready on the airport tarmac if Stucker needs to make a quick connection, according to the Post. Representatives on United's 800 number even recognize Stucker. That level of service seems almost mythical, but Stucker is still reaping the benefits of his 1990s era pass that has truly put the world at its fingertips. That is just, I love this story. I love this story. Now, I don't care what pops up for you guys if you've ever done anything like Tom Stucker before. If you had this kind of leniency. I know some of my friends, my buddy Siad, we all call him Gypsy. He had a travel blog for a while called The Standby Gypsy, and that was his on-air name over here at the studio for many years. He was a partner at the studio for years until he went off to do other things, and his personality was the Standby Gypsy. And he worked for JetBlue and a few other places, and he would often fly standby and just take free flights all over the place. He would go to Paris, he would go to Central America, and he would link up with other people who were doing the same things, and they would call themselves tribes. Like they would just meet up in far-off lands because they're flying standby or they have some kind of an arrangement like Tom Stucker over here. But talk about the gift that keeps on giving. Now, it wasn't gifted to him. He paid $290,000, but at the end of it, you have to imagine that he has made and or spent so much more than that. So I offer you this story, if anything pops up for you based on this story, or just a generalized question of the best investment you've ever made in your life, where you put a little bit down, made a little bit of a sacrifice, and then you just reap the whirlwind. That is so cool. So cool. Then you can also call in on one other topic, and that is, now that it's been officially a week since the 4th of July and the release of Sound of Freedom, I want to know what you guys think about it. Here is Dana White, UFC's Dana White, saying a little something about it with an end cap video from none other than Mel.
Hey everybody, I'm Dana White. There's a new movie out called The Sound of Freedom, and it's about human trafficking. More importantly, the trafficking of children. This is a disgusting, horrific issue that's happening all around the world, and it's not getting better, it's getting worse. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give any of my UFC employees that wanna see this movie free tickets to go see, and I would like to encourage other executives to do the same at their company. Here's Mel Gibson with some more information on The Sound of Freedom.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
So now that a lot of people have seen it, and we're getting reports of, chicanery going on at several locations where it's on. People saying that their pre-sale tickets are not there. They've been refunded. There's air conditioning problems at AMC theaters and this and that. And then there are others that are doing digs into whether or not Jim Caviezel is a Freemason plant, and that the film actually is a grift, and it's trying to get people to microchip their children. I don't know about any of that. There's certain things that I can't do incessant digging on. All I know is that when I watched the film, I took nothing away from it other than a harrowing story of search and rescue. And I don't feel brainwashed or duped into getting a microchip into Aurora, or I don't know. But some people are on that kick right now, and that's fine. So if you wanted to call in about that, you can. I just don't have much to offer because I didn't take anything like that away from this. Anyhow, I would love to offer up the time on air with all that stuff to you guys. So let's do that. 914-200-0269. We'll be right back. We'll be right back to take your calls. Don't go anywhere.
Shouldn't have torn like that. Beautiful coat. What the fuck you doing? Lunch is ready. Wash my hands. You just washed your hands. Then I tied my shoes. So what? I can't stand touching fucking shoelaces. Ever go to tie your shoes and you notice the end of your laces are wet? From what? Why would they be wet?
I got no fucking idea.
You go to public bathrooms, you stand at the urinal.
Oh, fuck, come on, will you?
He's asking me, I'm telling him. And frankly, it's important. Even if the lace is dry, and even if you don't touch the body of the shoe, bacteria and viruses migrate from the sole up.
You see this on TV?
I gotta watch TV to figure out the world. Your average men's shithouse is a fucking sewer. You look at ladies' johns, You could eat maple walnut ice cream from the toilets. There's exceptions. But amends? Piss all over the fucking floor. Urinals jammed with cigarettes and mothball cakes. And they can pour all the fucking ice they want down there, my friend. It does nothing to kill germs. Even if you keep your shoes tied and you're not dragging your laces through urine.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
They tell your kids they got to love Justin Bieber, and and then your children are turned into mindless vassals. They look up to some twit instead of looking up to Nikola Tesla or looking up to Magellan. I mean, kids, Magellan's a lot cooler than Justin Bieber. He circumnavigated with one ship the entire planet. He was killed by wild natives before they got back to Portugal. And when they got back, there was only like 11 people alive of the 200 and something crew, and the entire ship was rotting down to the waterline. That's destiny. That's will. That's striving. That's being a trailblazer and explorer. Going into space. Mathematics. Quantum mechanics. The secrets of the universe. It's all there. Life is fiery with its beauty. It's incredible detail. Tuning into it. They want to shut out your mind talking about Justin Bieber. Ah!
You're listening to Quite Frankly.
Okay. 914-200-0269. Or you can jump into the Gilded. Let's see. Here, you know what? I'm going to take this caller. Let's take this caller over here. 808, you're on the air. Go ahead. 808. 808. Came and went. Let's go over to the Gilded, and let's bring in Minnesota Cat, who's been trying to get this right for nights on end, and I think she finally got it. What's going on, Cat?
I am so happy to hear your voice in my earbuds.
Oh, here we are.
Live. Thank you. Well, okay, so I just wanted to comment on the thing you were talking about with the movie Sound of Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
A whole bunch of us are going on Thursday. So let's all pray that there's no shenanigans on our end. Of course, Minnesota is the birthplace of these riots.
There's a lot. You know, Minnesota, they used to be a very remote, almost forgettable place in the United States, but they've found a way to make you guys stand out, and of course, it's never in good ways.
It's really true. And in this day and age, it's best to just be forgotten.
Yeah.
So, but I noticed on my Facebook, because I'm a mom, so most of my social interactions are on Facebook, unfortunately, for this season of my life. But I was noticing that a lot of my mom groups were saying things like, "Oh, I'm so worried to let my son ride his bike around the corner because child trafficking." And like, there needs to be a little balance here, right?
Yeah.
Especially with the boys. Like, do you want to make some more sniveling little maniacs, or are we going for something else? Because if you keep helicoptering them, you're going to make a bunch of feminine puke faces. And that's not great. You
know, Kat, I think you bring up a really good point there, because it goes hand in hand with another thing I was saying with some of those of some of the patrons, the monthly patrons of the show that I was doing my unlisted Sunday stream with, and we were discussing this a little bit there too. I was bringing up the question of, okay, well, I mean, we've a movie never actually changes the world. Movies, any kind of storytelling is very good for obvious reasons, and inspiration can be gleaned from it and all that stuff. But what really happens from there? Because the average person who watches this, you're going to be emotionally triggered into. You'll feel despair. You'll feel rage. You'll feel like you want to act. But I'm no John Rambo. I'm not going to be going on a speedboat down a jungle river in Colombia anytime soon, looking to do. So it begs the question: what do we do? What can we do?
Yeah.
And
Right.
And I think what you bring up
Although
there.
I love that visual, though, Frank, of you Ramboing down the river in the Amazon.
I love it too because
Can we get a meme of that? Can somebody make a meme of that?
It makes me feel very bad. It makes me feel very badass. Me with a quiver of exploding exploding tip arrows over my shoulder.
A machete.
Yeah.
Oh, and a pet honey badger on a leash, just like snarling with you at the front of the boat.
Let all the honey badgers out. That's what I say. And we'll be a lot better.
Exactly. What do we do? You learn this stuff just like with the Q and all this stuff. You figure out what's going on, but then what?
Well,
Then what?
I'm gonna repurpose what you said there to everybody else too, and hopefully we can get something else. Kat, now that it works, I hope you use this more often. Thank you for the call.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Minnesota Cat. Now she's sitting in the general waiting room with Albert for a second. Be easy on her, Albert. So there's a question for you. So what do we do? On the other hand, it goes hand in hand with Minnesota Cat, where what's the overcorrection with this? Do we never let our children out to go ride their bikes? I guess, is it situational awareness? Where are you? I mean, it could obviously happen anywhere. What is the buddy system all about? What are you taking into account? And I guess other than that, you just gotta roll the dice on some things in life so that you can actually go and live a life. So where is the overcorrection there, and what are we actually doing to fight this off? What are we doing really on local levels? Because there's a consciousness issue there. There's a way that we live. There's a way that we raise our children. There's a way that we do a lot. There's something there for us because most people who are listening to the show right now, as I said before, are not going to be jumping on the speedboat and making their way down a river in South Africa or South America. South Africa too. But we know a lot about that. But great question there. Let's take a call from Lisa. What's going on, Lisa?
Hi, it's Dr. Hoffman.
How are you, doctor? Great to have you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Hey, I have an ocean story.
Great. I can't wait to hear it.
Okay. I was boogie boarding off in San Diego by Point Loma, and a shark swam under me.
What kind of shark?
I do not know. I don't want to know, really. But I just stayed really, really still. And then I've also been caught in 2 riptides twice.
Oh, see, riptide stories are frightening. I mean, that really is. You are facing off. That is a very personal face-off that you are having with nature at that point, and it's a matter of who's strongest and who's going to let go first.
Yeah.
Shoot.
I just swam. You're not supposed to fight it. You're just supposed to swim. Parallel to the coastline, and that's what I did. And finally, I just ended up getting kind of washed ashore. But I just stayed really, really calm because I remembered what my uncle told me. Don't freak out, you'll drown. So basically, that's what I did.
So going back, well, I'm happy that you didn't freak out and that you didn't drown.
Yeah,
but
obviously I didn't die.
with the shark, who called it to your attention? Did you see the fin or something, or how?
I felt the water current changing because it was very, very calm where it was, and I just looked down and it was really clear and this big fish, and by the look of it, it looked like a shark because I love sharks. I love them. And so I stayed really still and it just kept going.
Well, thankfully it kept going, and it's okay to love sharks, especially from a distance there, Doctor. But,
I do. I love them.
Well, thank you for that. I actually think that it's Shark Week this week or next week on Discovery Channel. Doesn't it happen?
Yeah, I've heard.
It happens sometimes in July, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, enjoy that, and thank you for calling in.
Thank you.
There we go. We got a shark encounter. We have another call, 808. Let's try that again. Hello, 808.
Yeah, hi there. My bad. I was running a saw.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right. So who am I speaking with?
Right on. James.
James, welcome to the show. So what's on your mind, James?
I was just going to talk to you about sailing out in the ocean.
Okay, please go ahead.
Right on. By the way, I love your show, man.
Thank you, James.
Yeah, when I was 18, I left to go to Mexico and took crew jobs from La Paz, Baja. And basically it was like surfing waves and sailboats.
So, okay. So were you, but here's the thing I would like to know the most. Were you far away from the shore so that you couldn't see the shore? Like, how remote have you ever been out on the boat? And have you ever done any sailing or adventuring at night? Because the ocean, as scary as it is, in both daytime and nighttime, the nighttime is just a whole other beast.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of the deal with it is because you'll have pods of whales that you can't see at night. So you kind of have to hear for them. But in the Sea of Cortez, it's actually got a lot of phosphorescence in it.
Mm.
So, and we were out basically for like a week at a time. So you'd see schools of tuna during the day, so the fishing was good. But at night you'd have to be dodging pods of whales because they'd be sleeping.
Wow.
So that was a bit much. We were in a pretty good storm. Oh, the boat that the first one that I crewed on, it was a 40-foot Kattenberg, so it's a wood hull boat, and it didn't have an engine on it. It was called the Fair Lady. They actually did a write-up on it in 32 Latitude. It's a sailing magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's kind of the most insane boat. I didn't even know what I was getting into because I was an 18-year-old kid. But I had all my certifications and everything.
Any moment on the boat that you ask yourself, oh, man, why the hell did I get myself into this? Any scary moments?
Fuck yeah. Yeah, no, it was actually, we were in this one storm where the mast started slipping around because the winds were so bad, and it was kind of like box waves. So it was like a 20-foot square wave that kept slamming the front of the boat.
Jeez.
And that was pretty harsh. That was not the best night. So yeah, I had to break apart a chair and kind of wedge that into the mast hole, and then tie a rope around it and then reef the sails down. And the lady that owned the boat, she was like, I don't mind if I die. She was, her nickname was the Sea Hag. She was a sweetheart lady, very kind lady, but she'd been on the ocean for like 40 years. And, we had kerosene running lights. It was nuts.
Oh.
But when you're an 18-year-old kid, man, it's...
you take the opportunity.
Yeah, it was,
and now,
yeah.
Well, I can see how the Sea Hag wouldn't mind if she died on the ocean after all that time. But for you still have your whole life ahead of you.
Right,
okay.
Yeah. So anyway, when you're an 18-year-old kid, it was either, I was going to go in the Marines. My dad was like, please don't. You want boot camp, so just go to Mexico and sail boats. And I took his advice.
Well, James, I'm glad you did, because at the very least, we got ourselves some good stories over here tonight, and thank you for the call.
Yeah, bro.
All right.
You have a great night.
Yeah. They call in more often. That's great. So storms. I have to imagine. I can't imagine a storm at night. I should have asked them. Did the storm rage into the night? Man, that's a whole other beast. Being out there on the sea, and to think about how people are, navigating the world on the ocean. These mariner types back in the 19th, 18th, 17th century and before that, just incredible. The balls you need. And here's the other thing there too. As I said, I can't believe that 70% of YouTube is actually Titanic videos. It's more so that all these ships were sank in the 20th century. Forget about the 19th century, but in the 20th century. The Carpathia went down. Hit another ship. The Californian went down. So many of the boats that were actually part of the Titanic story, both the rescue or the potential rescue that ignored them. I mean, so many ships, ocean liners, everything else, not just military ships and all the the war's going on, but there's just so many collisions and it's incredible. So it just goes to show that before the advent of radar, sonar, better equipment for radio or anything like that, it was still a very, very dangerous thing, even in the early goings of the 20th century. All these ships just ramming into each other and going down. It's really just really incredible how long it's been a very dangerous trade. All right, let's see. Over in the Gilded Again, let's bring in Chris Jolly with an ocean story. What's going on, Chris? Chris bounced out. Let's go and bring a 850. You're on the air. What's going on, caller?
Yeah, just had a call for a shark story.
Oh, okay. Let's hear about this one.
Me and my wife are both Floridians, native born. We do a lot of fishing around Panama City Beach. We were out at the last buoy, which is about 5 miles offshore. And we were fishing, catching small king mackerel, but something was taking our bait and taking the fish too, breaking the line. We're fishing. My wife says, "Look at that." And I turned around and looked, and at the back of my boat's probably 8 foot wide, there was a hammerhead shark, way wider than my boat was.
Whoa.
And he looked like a mammoth. I mean, he was just enormously big. And it's just a sight you never see. Didn't get scared or anything. Just awed at the awesomeness of nature.
And this was in you had your own boat. You said it was just a smaller boat?
Yeah, 19-foot center console.
And about 8 feet wide, you said?
Yes, about 8 feet wide.
And you said that this thing dwarfed the dimensions of your boat?
Absolutely dwarfed the dimensions of my boat. It's a hammerhead that's been hanging out there for years, and it's estimated 12, 14 foot long.
I was going to say, how big do hammerheads get? I didn't know that that you're talking about something that's mammoth. That sounds like a genetic anomaly almost.
Not really. They get absolutely huge.
Really? Wow.
1,400 pounds.
Incredible. And aside from just circling around and taking whatever bait you were able to spare, it didn't cause you any problems?
No, not really, not at all. Just eating what it wanted.
Man, oh man, I'll tell you. That's the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing that is just, it's their world, to say, oh my, it's so scary. It's their world, that is where they're supposed to be. And for all intents and purposes, you're a visitor at that point,
Absolutely. When you see something like that, you think of intelligent design. God makes stuff incredible.
The variation, I think, of all this is great. You go into sharks, but hammerhead sharks in particular, just because of the way that they're constructed with that long, flat, horizontal head, and it's just the variation of life on this planet is just staggering. Even these, hammerhead sharks, they get a lot of media attention. We all had action figures and things. You go to all types of aquariums and stuff like that, and they'll bring them in, and they're very popular types of shark. But still, when you sit back and you just look at them and you realize, wow, how is just all this possible? It never gets old when you really sit back and analyze these creatures.
And yeah, when you see one up close like that, it's a memory that sticks with you forever.
Well, thank you so much for the call. It was great to have you on.
Thank you. We really enjoy your show.
Well, send my best to your wife and stay safe out there if you still go fishing. And thank you again.
All righty, bye-bye.
All right, there you go. The encounter with a giant hammerhead. Let's take a call from James. What's going on, James?
Hey, Frank, what's going on? It's Chris in the Berkshires.
Oh, what's going on? I forget. Well, it's going to take me a long time to not forget. Chris, welcome back. What's on your mind?
Frank, you got far too many people to remember someone as minister as me, so I'm not worried about it.
No, it's not that. It's just that the names, as you know, don't match the people anymore. So that was the...
Right.
Go ahead.
It's all good. It's all good. Just wanted to let you know that it finally happened. I got married, and I just got back from my honeymoon. So there you go.
Congratulations. And I remember,
I remember,
what was it? It was years ago at this point, and you called in, and you were kind of waffling a little bit. We said, dude, get it done. Dude, get it done. And here you are. Where'd you guys go?
We went to Montana for the honeymoon. So we went out to Glacier National Park.
Oh.
And I gotta throw a quick, huge fuck you. And I know you had. I caught the show late, and it was literally when I turned it on, you were just finishing up. So I don't know if you were positive or negative in the United aspect. But big fuck you to United, because they basically tried to ruin our honeymoon in every which way and form that they could. So, big old fat fuck you to them.
Why? Oh, I mean, I guess we don't have to go into the details there, but whatever.
The worst thing I'll say is they canceled a bunch of flights and whatever, and then they have all these people there, and they brought out and I literally thought of calling you like the second they did this. So everyone's in the line, right? Waiting to talk to the person at the desk to bitch about their flight and try to change their flights. And they did the one thing that I looked around and I said, oh my God, they're doing it. They brought out, you said it, the diversity hires. It was the greatest thing I've ever seen. So there's all these people at the desk, right, that are all these, United employees and shit like that. And here they come. The young, up-and-coming United, executives, interns, or whatever they are, and it looks like any college campus booklet that you could imagine. There was the black, there was the Pakistani, there was the gay, there was the transgender. Here comes the girl from Mexico who thinks she's this and that, and it was just like they're all sitting there talking to you, and I'm like, this is the problem is they've hired all these people who have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They have zero skill. They're probably at best the 20th best candidate, but because they check the box off, they hire them up, and here we are sitting with two canceled flights, and I had to take an Amtrak from Chicago to Kalispell, Montana for 34 hours, and Frank, it might have been the best thing I've ever done. It was absolutely gorgeous. If you ever get a chance to do it, Frank, do it, because you see the country, and it is beautiful, it is relaxing, there's none of the airport bullshit. It was absolutely glorious.
Maybe that's what we'll do.
And I gotta say, go ahead.
No, maybe that's what we'll do. Maybe we'll drive to the Midwest and then we'll take a train out the rest of the way or something like that. But then you're not taking. You would not be interested in the lifetime membership for United Airlines at this point. You don't want anything they have to give you.
I would never take a United flight ever again in my life.
Okay.
Ever again in my life.
I guess
I will never.
I guess,
but to put the cherry on top, I do have to say thank you, because, as you said, I was hemming and hawing and flipping and flapping, and you were like, dude, you got to get it done. What the fuck's wrong with you? You've been together for so long. So, a big thank you to you and your show and everything you do, and I'm finally back, and it's good to be back, because we were kind of off the grid, and we basically turned everything off for 10 days out there, and. You don't really miss. It's crazy. You don't really miss the internet. You don't miss anything. But I did miss the show, and it's great to have you back on, and good to be back in the chat room again. So I'm out here grilling in the backyard, listening to you, and having a beer, and making our first dinner back home now that we're married. I'm a married man, so thank you, Frank, and I got to say thank you to all the Franklies out there. So you guys have a great night, and I'll just keep listening. Keep up the great work.
I love hearing it. That you're back home. You're married. Your wife has a nice bright future with her husband now, and you guys hopefully you start popping out litter of children all over the place. Who knows? You just bask in the glow of that honeymoon first, and you guys just enjoy life. You're doing great things, and that's the whole thing. Well, first of all, I guess Tom Stucker from the United Airlines, who bought the lifetime pass in 1990. I guess he got the best years of United Airlines before the Captain Planet and the Planeteers took over there. I know exactly what he's talking about. It's people who the work, the quality of work it's not good quality work. But they do carry something else that is very obvious, and that is all of the external boxes have been checked. And you can just see what the hell has been prioritized on top of quality. And not to say that a mix of all of those people, category people, a mix of them aren't qualified. But the thing is to prioritize the categories and the boxes that need to be checked instead of the merit and the quality and the commitment to quality. You know, that's it does take things down a peg there. So sorry to hear about that, but I'm not sorry to hear about the marriage and the honeymoon. And I will say this before we go to break, that it's true. When you are away from social media, you don't miss any of it. You don't miss any of it. Now, if you do something like I do, there's a little itch about if it's work, being away from it is really, really hard because you want to stay in the game and you want to keep yourself sharp. And you feel that itch you want to keep digging, and you want to keep clawing and just you want to be involved. You want to be on the field, on the court. You don't want to be on the bench. Definitely don't want to take yourself out of the game for any period of time. But when you realize again and you remind yourself, just like when Mickey Willis was on, scheduling those times away and really just disappearing to do the most important things, and that is to be quiet, to be with your loved ones, and just to do things that are, I don't know, a lot more smaller in scope but far more important. That's everything. Now, I wish, because of that, I know that the show is really driven by the internet. In many respects, it is a social media driven show because it is posted, we go live on several social media websites, podcast, everything is driven and powered by the internet, even if you're just downloading it and listening to it on your own, whatever. But I love the idea of radio and just being able to, maybe one day, who knows. So I guess just pretend that this is just a radio station and that you're not going on social media to get yourself a nice little conversation every night. 8:07, let's go to intermission. We'll be right back with more of your calls and also jumping into the mailbag over here, different from the grab bag. You'll see.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome.
Quite frankly.
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 We all support quite frankly.
Not quite.
Quite frankly.
Let's go, Brandon.
Quite frankly in Roma, Italia. Quite frankly. You going on Frank's show tonight?
I want to get a Coke. Can I get a Coke?
So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
Quite frankly. How dare you?
So everybody, there's got to be somebody out there that has a story of what's the best investment you ever made? Is there a service, a product, something that you bought into, you paid a minimal amount of money, but you got over the top return for it? Just think of this United Airlines story as an example. There's got to be somebody out there. Like I said, there's specialty lines set up on the Gilded so you can jump in line for something in particular. But I would love to hear from somebody about that. Jenna from South Carolina says, hey, I tried to call in but couldn't get through. I sent you an email about Tim Ballard today. Just want to make sure it doesn't slip through the cracks. I have a connection that might give you an inroad to an interview with Jim Caviezel. Okay, well, I'll take a look. But I have about 4 different strings being tugged on right now, and I don't want to be a creepy pest, but I will check the email. Thank you, Stowstube. Says, Frank, just dropping a little something for you for the show. Like buttons on Rumble and YouTube are smashed. Thank you, sir. Yes, please, ladies and gentlemen, whatever you're doing tonight, whether you can be a sponsor of the show, whether you are a sponsor, whether you can or cannot send a super chat to say hello and support the broadcast and the overall operation, the one thing everybody can do, especially on Rumble and YouTube, is hit the like button. It takes a nanosecond, and it does wonderful things if we start hitting different levels of different tiers and thresholds of likes. I would love to get to 1,000 likes on both places. I know it's tough to do sometimes, but it shouldn't. If many more than 1,000 settle in to watch in either place over the course of a 2-hour period, thousands do. So just leave a like, and it really help us out. Here's another one from Katie. Katie Sky says, at least 4 feet. Fish scurrying away. We were just standing there, so it's not like we splashed and spooked it. Whatever it was came up close, checked us out, and decided to scurry away. We stayed right where we were because it was such a beautiful scene. Well, at least there's no danger there. That video I saw last night was horrible. Horrible. And that's when I knew, all right, no more shorts and reels tonight, because it's been bitten by the weird bug. Pete F says, paying blessings forward. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Pete. Is that Pete from Canada? I don't know, but Pete, thank you so much. Here's another here's another story from Katie. One of two. Was chest deep in the water at the beach in St. Thomas, a joint in one hand and a drink in the other, just gazing out at the beauty of it all with my ex. All of a sudden there were 2 breaks in the water, with a dorsal fin and the tail fin of what, and then it goes to the other one, of what was at least a 4-foot, I don't know, fish scurrying away. 4 feet. Anything 4 foot was, I mean, damn. I remember going to the Bahamas in 2008, and you would feel the tickle of just fish. I don't know which ones they were, but they would brush up against you. That was weird, but I knew it wasn't anything to be too crazed about. But I liked it. I mean, it was great, because you know why? Because the water was clear, so it almost felt like you were hanging out in an aquarium, and that is fine. It's the whole idea, and there's some sort of a phobia. I wouldn't say I'm phobic, but it just makes me uncomfortable. There is a phobia. You know how everything goes phobia, philia? I forget what the hell it's called, of figures and things underwater. Things that are underwater, whatever, figures underwater, whether that be sunken vessels or something like that, but especially dark water with me. It's seeing something come out of the darkness that is messed up. It's really messed up. If I'm in like aquarium clear water, and we got our snorkels and our goggles, and we're having a good time, that can be thoroughly enjoyable experience. But I think that it is just the murkiness of being in the blackness. Like, there are a couple of people out on YouTube that do river recoveries, where they go and they dive into rivers and things like that, and I'm trying to get a few of them on the show. There's this one group that goes out and they do magnet fishing, and they have found all types of shit. Like, there was a mafia dumping ground. They found all these discarded guns. They found, dead bodies wrapped in chains. Crazy stuff. But there's also these amateur, I wouldn't say call them amateur, but they at least their presence on the independent, I would say, independent divers. They would find cars in lakes that really close the gap on unsolved mysteries of people who have disappeared in the past. Teenagers who I guess got drunk and went off and they were never found again, and now here is the confirmation that they went off into this river and they've been gone for however many years. And things like that, to dive even into murky like a lake water, and even 25 feet down find a car. To see a car come out of the darkness, that's messed up to me. I saw that same group of people. I think they did an episode diving into the East River, or maybe the Hudson. It was down in New York City, and they were all around the piers. I don't know if it was, whatever the hell it was, but they were down in that, and. Already you're thinking, okay, well, that's some nasty ass water in itself, but still, what are you finding at the bottom of that thing? What's coming out of the darkness of that? So I can't fathom people who have the balls to do that, or actually, get that's like, they get their kicks doing that. Maybe some of you are one of those people. I'd love to hear about it. Let's take a call from Donald. What's going on, Donald?
Hello,
Donald.
Frank.
How you doing, Donald?
Well, actually, this is Noel. Donald is my father, but he was originally on the cell phone plan. All good.
No problem. Well, welcome, Noel. How you feeling?
Feeling great. Frank, I would love to call in about no regrets investments or purchases tonight.
Great. At least we get one in. As long as we got one good one, that's all I care about. So go right ahead. Make my night.
All right. Well, so I'm going to a short story that is going to take me way back. It's going to be a very long, complicated story here. I hope you have a lot of time to invest in talking to me tonight.
No, I don't actually. But go. But try to nutshell it the best you can.
All right. Frank, I bought a boat 2 years ago. It's a little bit nicer of a boat than I probably should have bought, but a lot of people say don't buy a boat. Bought a boat, great investment, never regretted a day of it, especially here in Minnesota in the summer. Amazing investment, never looked back. That's it.
So wait a second. So let me tell you, because when you say Minnesota, and obviously that is the land of 10,000 lakes. So we know that there's plenty of water up there. But how far can you get from Minnesota? Or is this just something that's hanging out on one of those giant lakes, or is there any kind of outlet? How far away from Minnesota can you get? Is there any route to take your boat from where it's docked to the Atlantic Ocean?
It's not docked. It's on a trailer. I just pull it, and we just go to the little lake here. I live by a beautiful lake called Lake Minnetonka. I think your friend Truth Quest lives in the same town as me. So that's fairly landlocked. If you were very ambitious, I could go about 45 minutes to the Mississippi River or the St. Croix River, get on the Mississippi, and then I suppose sky's the limit. But that's probably would be a little bit more ambitious than I'd be willing to bite off.
Wow. Well, that's okay. So you bought this boat. Everybody said, don't buy a boat. You said, to hell with you. It's my life. So you went and you grabbed it. So what do you do? What kind of time do you spend on it? And what do you like doing the most where you enjoy the actual boat on the water? Because I have to imagine that there is at least a couple of months that you put this thing away, or do you brave the winter as well?
No. So in the wintertime, I take advantage of the ice. I go snowmobiling on it. Honestly, I go walk my dog out on the lake. Just let him go rip. Can't get lost. Can't get in trouble. Usually it's dark by the time I get home from work. Put a little LED collar on him, just see the bouncing along the lake or along the ice and the snow. But yeah, I mean, June, July, August, early September, basically you're just going for cruises. You're, checking out the foliage. There's a couple of different boat up bars that you can go to. Boating to a bar, way better than driving to a bar or biking to a bar, any of those kind of things. Water ski behind it. Spent all last weekend water skiing. A fantastic workout if you've never done it yourself. But yeah, mostly just being on, I call it the outside looking in. You look at the shore, you look at your little neighborhood and your community from the water, and you get a totally inverted perspective.
Do you ever spend, once you have this vessel out on the water, do you ever spend days on end there where you'll sleep on the boat and you'll just say, hey, I'm not coming home for a couple of days?
No, I mean, it's not that kind of a boat. It's just a ski boat. So it's not exactly something like a cabin cruiser, something that has amenities for anything beyond a couple of hours.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just on a Saturday afternoon or a weekend afternoon, or you cut out early on Friday, you spend 2 hours out there soaking in the sun. So far away from land, it's rejuvenating. Actually, I'm thinking about taking it out onto the water Thursday night to go check out the northern lights, like you were talking about the other night.
Yeah.
And just kind of seeing what that would look like from something other than my backyard.
See, Noel, thank you so much for the call. This was wonderful, and I can feel that this was.
Thank you, Frank.
No, I know that you made the purchase, and at least for now, I mean, I don't know, maybe 25 years down the road, you just become tired, and you're too damn old to do it all still, and to keep up with the demand of the boating life. But I can tell right now, you have already enjoyed this much more than it cost, and I think that's great.
Well, thank you, Frank. I appreciate you. Love you, brother. Keep up the good work. You're a staple of my day, and absolutely, thanks for always having an engaging topic that get people's, their brains jogging. And I thought that intersected with the topics, the nautical topic of the evening as well.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it checked off a couple of them boxes again. Thank you, and I appreciate your compliments and all the love and the appreciation right back to you out there in the land of 10,000, 10 million lakes. There's Noel. Yeah, that's terrific. At least you got one of those there. Got a couple things. Should ask him. Oh, by the way, the phobia... This was sent to me, I think, by AK. Who's it? No, yeah, AK on the Gilded. Thalassophobia. Have you ever heard of megalohydrothalassophobia? It may sound like a mouthful, but it is a specific phobia that is related to thalassophobia, the fear of large, deep bodies of water. Megalohydrothalassophobia is the fear of large things in the water, such as large sea creatures, shipwrecks, or underwater structures. It is a blog post we'll explore, so that's what it is here. Combining these roots, so you have megalo, great, hydro, water, thalasso, means or thalassa means sea or ocean, and phobia, but whatever. So as far as where's the symptoms of megalohydrothalassophobia, like other specific phobias, can cause a range of physical and emotional symptoms: intense fear and anxiety when thinking about being exposed to large things in the water, avoidance of water-related activities or locations such as beach or aquariums. No, I love that. Panic attacks, trembling, shaking, nausea, dizziness. Causes. See, here you go. That right there, I think I would be able to go down into that if I were able to get the whole scuba. I'd never done scuba before, so it would have to take some training to be able to get on down and accept the pressure of all that. I don't know how far down that is. What is that? 50 feet? A little bit more. Learned behavior, genetics, anxiety disorders. See, shipwrecks, that kind of a shipwreck, that wouldn't be too bad. That wouldn't be too bad. It would be the dark water. It's the dark water. But I guess some people would have it bad enough to not be able to do that. All right. Let's take some more calls. 914 800-200-0269. So I'm taking calls about weird ocean stories or just ocean stories in general that you think are go hand in hand with this, but I really want to hear some dangerous ocean stories, ocean survival stories even. Then, of course, there is the best investment of your life. And I have other things that came in. You want to get some others? Here, listen to this. There's some beautiful places, correspondence I got. This one is from Razel. Razel. She said, "Hey, Frank, this is Razel. Thank you for taking my call. I've been so blessed to have travels like I did. I have been through 2 passports with extra pages sewn in. There are a few things I'd like to run by you. Number 1, the ozone. We were talking about the ozone layer last week. The ozone has a hole in it to let the pollution out. The bigger the hole, the more pollution is letting out. The smaller the hole, the less pollution there is. If the hole closed, then we would die. Also, every time it rains, it cleanses the earth." I know. Acid rain. I didn't know that. Is the hole in the ozone layer event that has been lied about all these years? That's the first time I heard about that. She also said, "I did have a supernatural event when I was in Iraq, though. My hooch, a 1-room container for living quarters, I woke up to use the restroom, and I just had a feeling that my hooch was not level. So I made a mental note to have billeting check it out. I went back to bed. I laid down. I felt my room raise up." So that did not happen. And as soon as I said that again, it did it again. I tried to get up, but I could not move. I was frozen. I tried and tried to get up, but to no avail. Then a head of an old man appeared over my desk. He started talking and then said, "If you want my help, you will have to speak." I said, "If you want my help, you'll have to speak English." Then over by the door, 2 guys appeared dressed in green fatigues. Each had a weapon. I told them to leave, and they and the old man left. Then I guess what seems like a few minutes went by. I was able to get up and walk. It was very spooky. I went to HR in the morning and told them I wanted a different hooch. Needless to say, I didn't get one, but they did not come back. The ghost head and the 2 men in fatigues? The 2 men in fatigues were ghosts as well? Jeez. Okay. Let's take a call from Erica Bonilla. What's going on, Erica? Nope, Erica's gone. Let's take a call from Rick. What's going on, Rick?
Hey, Frank. This is Rick in Florida. You can know me online as Captain Flint.
Oh, what's going on, Captain? Good to have you.
Thank you. First time calling. I'm Florida born and raised. Grew up surfing the beaches of Florida and fishing. And, man, I got tons of stories. Shark stories, octopus stories.
Well, give me
all kinds of things have happened.
Give me
I'd say one of the best.
Yeah,
I had
best.
a friend. We used to go surfing all the time. Turns out it's one of the most dangerous beaches in the United States, New Smyrna Beach, and we used to surf the jetties. And I had a buddy. He was always paranoid, always afraid of what's under the water, always freaking out. And sure enough, of all the people who were out surfing, about a 5-foot bull shark came up and just decided just to gnaw down on the front of the surfboard while he's sitting on it.
Oh, damn. And I heard about these bull sharks.
Yeah, just big sharks. Big, ugly teeth. Normally, they don't really bother you. Problem is that at New Smyrna Beach, the water gets really murky. So they see something that looks small to them. It's actually quite big because they can't see all of you, so to speak. That's why there's always shark attacks there. But yeah, just bit off the front of his board. And he's screaming and yelling. We're kind of freaking out and laughing at the same time. Get him into shore. He's panicking, but he's fine. Other great stories like fishing. One time he pulled up a conch shell with a big octopus inside of it. That was interesting.
Wow. Just making a home over there.
Yeah.
I've heard about bull sharks being found as far north as around here. Are they able to survive in both fresh and salt water or something like that?
I imagine they can travel pretty far up brackish water, but
okay. I don't know why. I don't know why that sounds familiar to me, as far as there being some kind of a local link to things like that. But hey, I appreciate it. In fact, Captain Flynn, I think I just accepted your application in the Gilded, so have fun in there too.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for the call,
Thanks,
friend.
Troy.
Yeah, do it again.
Great show.
Thank you.
Bye.
Be well. There's Captain Flint. Long time. Long time. You see people's names popping up in chat rooms in and out, and then all of a sudden one day there's a voice that goes along with them. And that's always nice. All right, 914-200-0269. You have a number of topics you can call in on. I think we're spreading them out pretty good. Here's one that comes out of left field. Hi, Frank. I just heard your episode that mentioned about the medications that make people gay. I should save this for Matt, but we're not going to have a Friday show until next Friday. Dopamine agonists, especially D2, are the real gay drugs. Usually prescribed for Parkinson's disease, but more recently used for restless leg syndrome. These drugs create all sorts of compulsions, gambling addiction, sex addiction, really anything that can be addictive, they can cause addiction to them. There are many reports of straight people becoming bisexual or homosexual when taking them. Bodybuilders using steroids use them as well to treat side effects of taking testosterone. Some testosterone naturally aromatizes to estradiol. An estrogen hormone increasing testosterone causes an increase in estradiol. This causes the release of a prolactin, which causes detrimental sexual side effects and other unpleasant effects. Look on Reddit, search cabergoline and steroids. I don't know what that is, but it sounds terrible. There are multiple threads about the use of dopamine agonists to treat side effects, so this probably happens to some bodybuilders as well. I've seen even reports of Zoloft causing people to change from straight to gay. And then it gives me a whole list of dopamine D2 agonists. Whole list of them. And then, at the end, and of course, this is written by Dan, of course, there's atrazine in the water, making the freaking frogs gay. Actually, it converts some of the frogs from male to female completely. Have a good one, Dan. Well, what's scary? How could I lump this into the rest of tonight's topics? Imagine all of the transgender sea creatures that are underneath the surface of the black seas of the earth. How scary is that? Let's take a call from Mike. How are you, Mike?
Hey, Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind tonight? What are you going to be hitting up?
Well, I want to... You sound like you got a little phobia against black water. I've actually spearfished in the Gulf of Mexico, and we go at night.
Oh.
And I'll tell you one story. We were diving. We got a team, probably about 6 or 8 divers. We'd charter a boat and go dive off of a, structure offshore. And we were down one night. I was always the first ready to get ready in the water, and I got ready, went down, went over, shot a couple of fish, and I was looking around. I got using a dive light, and I looked to my right, and full-grown bull shark just appeared, and I just held my light on it and just watched it as it just swam right by me. And as soon as it got through swimming by, it went one way, I went the other.
It's and this is in the middle of the nighttime.
It's probably about midnight.
Man, oh man, no, that's just.
Anyway, when I finished, when I saw him, I'm like, I got a grouper, a couple of flounder. I'm gonna head on back up to the boat. So I just went up the anchor chain, and the guys looked over and says, "Hey, how'd you do?" I showed them my fish. I said, "Man, I did great. Y'all go have fun." I didn't tell any of them about it.
That's too much, man. I gotta say, you know what it reminds me of? Another thing. Maybe this is where it all happened. Where I knew that as a young guy, young boy, I would never do something like, for example, who the hell was it? It was Hooper, Richard Dreyfuss in Jaws. What was his name? Hooper.
I don't really watch a lot of shark movies because of the fact that I still do this. I go at night, and anytime a new guy's coming with me and he wants to talk about sharks, I said, "Look, put that in a little box in the back of your mind, and forget about it. And we just go do our thing. And by the grace of God, so far, I've been doing it like 30, 40 years. No problem.
So when are you going? You're going back to do some more night fishing soon?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I went 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm planning on going the 25th of this month. You know, you got a time, the tide's right, everything has to be perfect. The wind, the tides, you got to come on a high tide, you know, where the water's clear. Now, as far as you talking about black water, I've been diving in the Mobile River, which is just like you might as well put your hand over your eyes and get in. And me and my buddy did that one time on a salvage job. I think we made like $100, maybe $200, and you know it's like risking your life. But we got out and we laughed all the way to the bank. But one other time, talking about the dark water, a friend of mine salvaged guy. You know, I guess he lost his outboard motor or something up in the bayou, and he wanted me to go down and dive and try to find it. So you go overboard there. And yes, there again, you're just feeling around. You can't see anything. You might as well just close your eyes. The guy on the boat standing there with a shotgun in case of alligators. And I think I made $50 or something like that. You know, just stupid.
You know, yeah. That seemed like a fair trade considering the circumstances.
Well, you know, life's an adventure, Frank, and I just try to live it to the fullest.
Oh, you are.
We used to, talking about the traveling. My buddy worked for Delta, and we'd get a buddy pass. We would go to California and abalone dive. So we went out there 2 or 3 times and, you know, diving for abalone. Now, you have to free dive for that. You can't scuba dive. So we had a good time. We got all our abs come back. And then
Mike
killed it. A friend of mine, Randy Fry, was diving for abs. And a great white bit his head off.
Oh,
now
geez.
That's a buzzkill right there.
Yeah, you had
That'll make you refigure your whole plan.
Your friend had his head bitten off by a great white.
It's an acquaintance, but you know,
were you there?
Friend.
Were you there for that? Or
I was not there, but you know, news travels fast through this certain community. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I'm like, I don't think I want to go back to. That was in the Pacific Ocean.
Well, Mike,
Northern California.
Mike, let me ask you something before we get on to another quick break. To just because you've been doing this for so long, let me try to bring in another topic from this evening. What would you say in your life of adventure the best investment you ever made was? What's something that you bought, you invested in, and you got a hell of a lot of use out of, and that you think that it was well worth the money? Anything?
Yeah, this is totally unrelated. A friend of mine, he's well off, okay? He'd buy a new Harley Davidson every year, seems like. So he had a couple of them Harley Davidsons, and he kept asking me. I already had a chopper, but he said, hey, why don't you buy this Road King from me? I said, Doug, I don't think I want it. It's not that I can't afford it. It's just I need another motorcycle. So he kept on bugging me. This went on for like a month or two. He says, Mike, look, I'm going to let you have this brand new Road King for $6,000. I said, well, I'll take that. I said, I'll be over tomorrow with the cash. And that $6,000, I've got 100,000 miles on that motorcycle. I've been to California 2 or 3 times, Canada, all across the desert. Really experienced the beauty of this country. I've seen it change from one side to the other. Now, the other night you were talking about mystical experiences. I was riding through the desert. I think it was in Navajo territory. And, something just come over me and tears just started streaming out of my eyes. It was just emotional. That's just, I don't know what it was, but it's something I won't ever forget.
Wow, that's. I'm glad I asked you that question. That's wonderful, Mike. This is a great call. I hope I hear from you again. And if you ever have trouble getting through, like I always say, jump into the Gilded or send me an email. Stay in touch,
well,
okay?
I've sent you an email before. I'm sick, man, so I didn't want to really put that out there. But
it's all right.
Yeah.
Nobody's.
Hey, all the best to the Frankleys and the Franciscans. I love you, and you have a great show. I try to catch it every chance that I get.
Thank you, Mike. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Frank. Good night.
Later. Wow, great call. Just great. Yeah, in Jaws, it's when Richard Dreyfuss goes. That local fisherman had just caught the tiger shark, and they put it up in the town square like, we found it. We found it. And he said, I don't think this is it. I don't think this is the shark. So they go diving. They go searching around. They find a boat that is run down. I forgot who the owner of the boat is, but it's just kind of like sitting there. It's not. It's dilapidated. It's not sinking, but it's just on the surface. And Richard Dreyfuss, I'm gonna take a little dive. I'm gonna take a little dive. Of course he does. In the nighttime, with a flashlight underwater. And he inspects the hole in the side. He finds Jaws's knife-like tooth. And then there's a dead body that pops out and says, hello! Out of the side of the boat, the little chunk that had been bitten out. No thanks. No thanks. I think we'll tow this in and take a look at it tomorrow morning. Get it up on a lift or something like that. See, like back when I was a child watching things like Jaws, I'm saying to myself, I'm not going. What are you doing? Why would you do this to yourself? I guess you're just a thrill seeker. Or you're someone like Mike out there. Someone like Mike, just jump in. Never mind. All right. Yes. Yes, indeed. Okay, let's take one quick break. Another quick break, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Quite Frankly.
I've witnessed atrocities previously reserved for the eyes of war veterans, all thanks to the Existential Crisis Rectangle. Now I sleep for 2 to 4 hours a night due to the incessant deafening chatter in my mind. And you can too, with the help of the Existential Crisis Rectangle. The Existential Crisis Rectangle includes historically unprecedented narcissism, mind-melting algorithms, and even the complete erosion of the moral fabric of society. So don't wait. Rush out and grab your own Existential Crisis Rectangle today. Loss of virginity sold separately.
What really happened on that Thursday here at Augusta High School that led to Chris Wood's death?
The fuck is that? Shit! I'm dying in this fucking country-ass fucked up town. Shit flying in my mouth. The fuck, I can't see pollen. And let's get the fuck out this country, motherfucker. I can't even see me.
Again, thank you. Thank you for being here, everybody. I'm having a great time, and this is what it's all about. This is the real experience. What's going on in the outside world? Let's see. Zelensky slams NATO over Ukraine membership. Biden skips dinner. Trouble in paradise with the two lovebirds. Temperatures climb to extreme levels, even for the hottest parts of the United States. Good. Let it get hotter. Fear, blackout would kill 9 times more than Katrina. Oh, yeah. Fear, fear, fear. So obviously, this has all been going nuts with the flooding or the ever-increasing temperatures or this and that, whatever. These headlines have been clustering now. And of course, it all comes hand in hand with these meetings in the UK that I played a little bit last night with John Kerry speaking in front of all of their trillionaire friends and the King of England. So it's just the climate change portion of the Great Reset's turn on the cycle of issues again. And if you just keep following the cycle, you just keep following the bouncing ball, you're just going to get brought through it over and over again. That's it. Mission Impossible set for franchise best opening. Bud Light plummets to 14th place amongst beers. A third of Americans have sleep divorce. More than a third of Americans have a sleep divorce. What the hell does that mean? Where they occasionally or consistently sleep in another room from their partner, according to a survey from the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Oh, I'm going to have to save this. The practice of sleeping separately, known as sleep divorce, is meant to help you fall asleep and stay asleep without disruptions such as snoring, stolen covers, or early alarms. I understand. I can understand that. But how do you get around it? The snoring, there are some people that is bad. Some people are just very bad. I can tell you I've been around it. It's not Lauren, by the way. Lauren and I don't have any problems. She thinks that she disrupts me when she flip-flops and stuff, and I keep telling her I don't know. And I flip-flop. And the only time that I ever really make noise when I sleep is when I'm sick. And I'm just kind of stuffed up a little bit. Other than that, I might let out a yelp from time to time or something like, oh! But I think everything is good on the home front. But that is just me being lucky, feeling lucky and grateful for what's going on, because I know all about this. I'm gonna have to set this aside. We're gonna have to talk about sleep configurations one night, and dealing with snoring, and that's a big one. All right, let's see here. Let's take a couple more last-minute calls. Daniel, what's going on, Daniel?
Hey, Frank.
Hi, how are you?
My call. Called in on Friday, a little bit nervous, so hopefully I'll do a little better this time. But I want to say definitely, because you were just talking about the topic of snoring.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, 3 of my buddies, their wives are sleeping in separate bedrooms. But my main topic that I want to hit on was the ocean one. And when I was in Aruba, I don't know, probably a decade ago or so, but there was this little octopus when I was snorkeling. Nothing too dangerous for this story, but it just I came up to it and it just inked me and just swam away. So it was kind of funny.
Oh, okay.
I just got inked by a little octopus.
Okay, and what, you had goggles on and everything like that, so it didn't get in your eye? Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. And then, but another so 2 other situations during that little trip. Another one, I was checking out some coral, and I'm like, oh, this green thing looks really cool. And then it started slithering away, and I'm like, oh crap, that's a moray eel right there. I didn't see its face, just saw the side of its body, and it just swam through the coral.
Mm-hmm.
But another one was.
You know what I would like to know, Daniel? Have you ever been zapped by an electric eel?
Oh, thankfully not. But
because I would,
yes.
I would love to know. I would love to. I have. I know all about it. I read about it, but I've never talked to somebody who can actually explain. Obviously, there's jellyfish stings and stuff like that, but as far as the eels go, I've never had any testimony given to me about it.
No, me neither. Thankfully not, but hopefully somebody can call in and give that story up, because I've done some construction back in the day and accidentally grabbed onto the outlet that I was taking out that wasn't wrapped properly, and I got a little shock up to my shoulder. So it wasn't too bad, just a little vibration through the entire arm.
Well, that's hey. Yeah, I'm glad that you're alive to talk about that. All this stuff. I was thinking about electric shocks the other day, because I had to run outside, turn the pump on in the backyard in the middle, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, so I couldn't find my rubber gloves or anything like that. Everything was wet, and so I had to grab things through my shirt and and hope for the best. But anyway, Daniel, thank you for the call, man. It's great to hear from you. And, the snoring night, you're going to have to call in again.
Oh, definitely.
All right, man.
I got a couple stories with that, and they're hilarious.
It's bad. It's a bad thing, and it's one of those things where it's just like you can't judge somebody. It's just happening. But I can understand if people at night are just like, I'm sorry, honey, but if I'm going to maintain my health, I'm glad you can fall asleep. Whatever the quality of sleep is with you snoring and, growling like that, that's one thing. But I don't blame anybody who is almost, it's like a forced insomnia. You ever had a hard time falling asleep one night, how you just want to punch yourself to sleep? You want to punch yourself until you're unconscious. You're just like, why can't I go to sleep? It's another thing to be perfectly able to fall asleep, but there is an element in the room that is keeping you awake. It's almost like torture in Iraq or something like that. All right, 8:51. 8:51, and that's all. We have a little bit more here. A little bit more. Oh, here's how we're going to end. Here's how we're going to end tonight. I have a call. Let me see. I have a story here. It was about our book club, and I thought this was really nice, so maybe a good way to end. This is from Adrian. Adrian wrote in about Shoeless Joe, and I want to give you a little bit of this just to let go of the evening, and we'll see you all tomorrow. He said, Frank, I watched the Shoeless Joe Jackson Book Club review, and even though my post comes late, I thought I'd share my thoughts and simple story. When my son Alex was about 9, I took him to the start of Little League just to see if he'd take a shine to things and have some fun. Over the course of a year or so, there was no team for him, so I decided that I'd start one in the local boys' club and sponsor it myself. And I coached it, too. I had Alex be the catcher, which after a few weeks he didn't like it because it was too hot and all the gear. It would have been easy to find another kid, and if I had, he would have been better than Alex for sure, but I wasn't going to let him say no. I wanted him to learn to suck it up. Looking back, it was a great life lesson. And I had another kid named Joseph, who was a sweet boy, but he must have had a slight case of palsy. You can see it in his gait when he ran. Joseph was all smiles, and signs of joy often showed on his face, and little bounce in his step. It was obvious he loved just being around the other boys, doing boy things. I had a couple of kids like Joseph, and really, really amazing. Yeah, I understand. Joseph would have never so much as made contact, much less gotten on base, if I didn't tell him to take each pitch. I hated not letting him swing as often as I did, but first I had to get him on base so that he could at least feel the exuberance of being on base. You wouldn't know it, but wouldn't you know it, on one occasion he drew the walk, and he stumbled from base to base until he was standing on third, when our best player got a hit and Joseph stumbled home, literally falling down on the way, but getting home ahead of a late throw. Every player ran out to Joseph and danced all around home plate, whooping and hollering back to the dugout. All the parents in both bleachers stood in unison and cheered like crazy people with hands in the air. That was 25 years ago, and it still gets me emotional to tell the story. I've lost track of the people, but I can't help but think it made a difference. I hope so. It did to me. Joseph's dad didn't like me putting up the take sign and made it known. He wanted Joseph to feel the joy of hitting the ball. So did I, but he didn't stand a chance. By far, Joseph is my favorite of the several similar stories that I have. Baseball is so much fun and so much more about life than it is about the game. Now, I turned 65 on the 21st, and I find myself reminiscing in recent times. The Bible tells us that old men will dream dreams and the young will see visions. A well-developed worldview will speak even in your sleep. However, the young need help. By hearing stories that light the imagination and that become a vision in the mind, the Bible also says, my people perish for lack of vision. So keep telling stories, Frank. Adrian. And I loved that email. I said, I've got to do this for a way to end. And, of course, it's baseball, and there's just so much there. so much there to. It's a beautiful game, and there's always that opportunity. I have many stories like that too, and I'm glad Adrian wrote in. And and I said, okay, I got a story for you. It's a little bit of a parable. A story about following your dreams. So maybe this is going to hit somebody right at the time that they need it. Let me turn off the phone lines just for a little bit. We're almost ready to go, and I'm going to, what I'll do is I'll take all my super chats real quick before I go, so I don't have to break the flow here. Witchy Poo says, second cousin was also trafficked and drugged. She was rescued. Wait. Hey, Frank, I have a cousin of human trafficking. My girl cousin was kidnapped when she was 11 or 12. She was drugged and pimped out for over 10 plus years. It's a long story about how she was rescued, but she was never the same. Drugs and mental health. Rest in peace. The second cousin was also trafficked and drugged. She was rescued, but had her pimp's names tattooed on her face. She was also mentally unstable. Jeez. Shake and Bake says, a service in which my return on investment was immeasurable is the internet radio show, quite frankly. Oh, that's nice. I have learned so much from him since March 31st of 2021. What a guy. Speaking of hammerhead sharks, the great hammerhead is my favorite animal. It's an incredibly constructed creature. MX2D says, Frank, been watching your Dark to Light podcast about the Missouri versus Biden, and I'm wondering where that line that defines a social media company is drawn. Can't a new platform argue that it is technically different? I love the show. Thank you. You're talking about a new platform that wants to bring the federal government into the fold and remarry themselves to the federal government? I don't know. I don't know. I would need to know more about the language of the law, and it could be a good question. If I need to know how to really formulate it in my own head. But it's a good idea. It's a good something to think about, because they're going to be finding ways to get around it, to get back to normal order. Digger's daughter says, my takeaway from Sound of Freedom, the U.S. is the largest consumer of child porn. Like the alcoholic, the first step is admitting that there is a problem. I'm with you. I'm with you. I never took anything else away from it other than this is a very well done, who did a great review of it, and I was so surprised and pleasantly surprised that he did, is the Critical Drinker. It's under 6 minutes long. Go to Critical Drinker's site on YouTube, listen to it, less than 6 minutes, and I think it's a very, very across-the-board, well-told and well-broken-down review of the actual movie itself. The working parts of it, the main characters, and how restrained and respectful it was of a really horrific situation. For everybody doing deep dives on whether or not this is an opposition piece that's been, I don't know. None of my no red flags went up for me, and if that is the case, again, this is another thing that we'll struggle to maintain memory of it in a couple of weeks. The real question is, how do we get people to act a little bit more responsibly where they are, to know what they're looking for, and to not overcorrect and take away children's lives altogether by telling them you can't go riding without me. You can't, depending on where you are. Maybe you're in a situation, you live in a place where you must have adult supervision until the time that you're 25. I don't know. So that would be a great conversation to have one night, especially if we have somebody like a Tim Ballard on the show, someone like him. I'm looking for guests right now. JDog28 says, hello to you, Frank, from the maintenance crew here in Memphis. Great show as always. What's going on to the whole maintenance crew? I like that. Carly Tebbs says, have you ever sucked snot out of the blocked nose of your infant with your mouth because the world had not inverted nose Freda? I have. Had not invented nose Freda yet? I have. Barf, nose Freda, best investment. I have not done the sucking thing, though I have seen people who have. because we looked into it. We have this. Aurora hates it. She calls it the nose sucker, the nose sucker, and she loves doing it to us. Like she pretends that things are the nose sucker and comes and jams it up our nose. I guess it's revenge or something. But it's bad. Like when the couple of times that she's been sick over the last year and a half, we hear that congestion. And it's like right there. So it's like a battery operated nose sucker. So we just, I hate it. I hate it. But I have to hold her back, and I'm just, just trying to keep her in place. And Lauren is going on up there, and while I'm holding her down, she is like strong as an ox. I'm trying to plug one nostril while I'm holding her down, and she's screaming. But here's the thing about Aurora. It's incredible. She knows when she doesn't feel good that she has to do certain things to feel better. At least now she does. And even though she hates the nose sucker, this little machine that just draws it out, even though she hates it, she knows that she has to do it. And she cries, but she walks to the sofa, she sits down, and she puts up with it. And she asks her mother, she asks Lauren if she can help her. So she puts her hands on the nose sucker too and brings it to her nostril, and she puts up with it. I give her a lot of credit. Things that she doesn't like doing, if she knows she's got to do it, she puts up with it. And yeah, and then afterwards she loves you. Okay, you want to see all the ewies? Okay, we pop it open, and she looks at all the snot. She's like, ew, and we all look at each other like, ew. And she goes, okay. Okay, all done? Yeah, so yes, all done. All right. So, I've never done that thing, but you know what I have seen? I have seen people put the saline injection right into one nostril, and in one pump, they pump the whole thing in, and it comes out the other end, and boom. It looks amazing. I have a Navage. It's the thing that you put up to your nose, and it puts the saline all the way through. In like 30 seconds, it feeds it through. I was using that a lot during the pollen season back in May or whenever the hell I was just checked out for a whole week. It was Mother's Day weekend, and that was pretty good. I thought I had that Navage on the shelf for a couple of years, and I never wanted to touch it because I thought I was going to choke to have all that come through. And it's like a neti pot, but it's electronic, and I did just fine. It's pretty good. All right, anyway. One last one over here. We have on Foxhole. Thank you to Robert Sarnes, Chai Possum, Sean Joe, Stone Roller, Omazon, Balls. Oh, I'm sorry, Bales. Ranger Billy and Chai Possum again, and Captain Flint. You guys have been fantastic. I'm releasing the scratching right now, and we are just about done with tonight's show. All right, so here's my little story for you. A parable of the fisherman and the businessman. Maybe some of you need to hear this tonight. I don't know. But since I've been asked to keep telling stories, I grabbed this one, and here we have it. In a small coastal village, there is a fisherman who owns a small rowboat. One afternoon, after fishing all morning, he returns to the shore with his boat full of fish. A vacationing businessman sees the fisherman and is impressed. He says, "How long does it take you to catch so many fish?" he says. "Oh, just a couple of hours," the fisherman says. The businessman immediately sees a business opportunity. He offers to invest money in the fisherman, enough to buy a bigger boat and to set up his company, supplying fish to every restaurant in the village. The fisherman says, "And then what?" The businessman says, "We'll set up a production plant and distribute fish to restaurants around the world." The fisherman replies, "And then what?" The businessman says, "Eventually the business will be so big that we'll sell it for a huge sum of money." The fisherman replies, "And then what?" The businessman then says, "You'll have so much money that you'll be able to do whatever you want. You can retire, you can move to a house by the sea, and fish as much as you'd like." And the fisherman was confused and says, "Isn't that what I already do?" So just a reminder that the ability to do what you want for as long as you want is priceless and often inexpensive. because so many of us really take joy in the little things in life. I think that goes back to what we were discussing with Walter Zollner last Thursday. Even if you have that 9 to 5, the weekends are yours. Go find yourself a trail, find yourself something to do, and soak it all up. Soak it all up, and don't overcomplicate. It's definitely something I need to keep in mind. But I hope you enjoyed tonight's program, and tomorrow we'll do more of the same. We have Really Graceful joining us at 7:30, so I will see you then. Good night, everybody. Be well, and take care of yourselves.
A kitty cat.
You're a kitty cat?
Your turn.
Hello. I'm a kitty cat as well.